Hi everybody, quick video about how to label your pattern pieces. This is extremely important. It's really important for the students who take this class in my classroom because it's amazing how quickly pieces can get mixed up. But it's also important for the students taking this at home. I know I've confused a lot of my pattern pieces when I've worked by myself. So let's get into habits. I'm going to be pretty strict about labeling them correctly. So first of all, what I want you to do is, I wonder if I can make this bigger, maybe yes, maybe no, is when you label it, make sure that your text follows the direction of your pattern. So with this pattern, this is the top and this is the bottom. So right away by just reading the text, I kind of know which is top and bottom. I don't think this is the top and this is the bottom. You know, I'm not going to put it upside down on a printed fabric that has a one directional print. So that's really important. So then when we write it, we want to make sure our lines are straight. So use a ruler. I'm just going to ask you guys to please use a ruler and draw some lines in order to do that. And then you can write on your lines. This is a great ruler to go ahead and draw those lines. Okay, then you're going to name each style. So your notebook samples are kind of easy because you can just name each style notebook sample number 1, notebook sample number 2, etc. But for the 3 projects we do in class, you might want to get a little fun and creative. We're going to be drafting the basic sloper. I'll talk more about what that is later. But, you don't want to just call it sloper because what if you end up drafting your friend a sloper or a customer a sloper or another sloper? You can have every style named sloper. It'll be really confusing. So maybe, you can call one the serious sloper, the freshman sloper, or the sunshine sloper, whatever. That way it just has its own unique name and it's just easier to stay organized. Okay, so after you decide the style name, you're going to see that the style is going to have multiple pattern pieces. For example, like a t-shirt might have a front pattern piece, a back pattern piece, and a sleeve. So the whole t-shirt is going to have a name, like the serious t-shirt. That could be the name. You'll put the name on all 3 pattern pieces. But then each pattern piece gets its own name. So the front could be, his name could be front. The sleeve, his name could be sleeve. Back could be back. Maybe you have a pattern piece that you're using, you're cutting out 2 of them and it's the same piece and you're using it for the front and back. Its name could be body, or its name could be front and back, could be his name. Either way, each pattern piece needs its own special name. Okay. Then you need to decide how many pieces of fabric are going to be cut from each pattern piece. So put a cut number. So if we're doing that t-shirt, the front, 1 would be cut. So you just put cut 1. The back, cut 1. The sleeve, cut 2. Then let's put the size. So with your notebook samples, you're kind of lucky because they're all printed with size. It's half scale size, so they have half size. That's fine. But for your projects, decide what size it is. If you can look in your textbook and follow the American Standard sizing system. But really as a company, you can decide whatever size you want. So you can call it size 12. You can call it size 3. You can call it medium, small. Whatever you want is fine. Just make it consistent. Okay, so number 6 is also so important. Please put the pattern maker's name on every single pattern piece. K. Benson, that's what I would put for me. Easy. So make sure you do that. Number 7, always do this as well, is put the date. This is important because we will go back and conduct fittings, and a lot of times you don't want to get rid of your old pattern piece, you just want to keep it around. So it can be really confusing if you end up with 2 sleeves and you're wondering, oh gosh, which is the old one and which is the new one. If you put the date on each one, you'll know right away which is the new one. So always put the date. That's extremely important on every single pattern piece. And then number 8 is don't forget to mark your grain line. The grain line communicates to the person cutting out your pattern what direction to put your pattern on the fabric. So on this sloper, this is our center front. This is the direction that we should be putting our pattern on the fabric. So the grain line would be parallel. So I would just draw a line parallel to this and add little arrowheads and write grain line. Grain line is the way that your fabric is woven. It's the direction, I guess, that your warp fabrics, when you look at your warp yarns, the way the warp yarns are weaved into your woven fabric, that's the grain line direction. It's important to lay the pattern the right way on your fabric. I've definitely made the mistake of cheating a little bit. Maybe I didn't have enough fabric, and so my fabric kind of got cut off at the bottom, about 1 inch. But then I realized, oh, well, if I turn it diagonal, it fits. I'll cut it out. It was so bad. Basically what happens, then my pattern piece twisted. Once I wore it, it was a mess. It was a good learning lesson, because at least now I really understand how important it is to place your pattern piece along the fabric's grain line. So you need to mark the grain line on every single pattern piece. And we'll practice it throughout the semester. If you're still not completely familiar with what grain lines are, we'll definitely be talking about it some more. But anyways, also always use a ruler, super important. And that's it, okay? Let me know if you have questions. I'm happy to talk about it more. Yeah, thanks.